Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Timer Up Studio. We will get started in 10 minutes. So hopefully you're all ready. I will talk about materials a little bit while we're waiting for people to join in. Let me set up my chat so I can see what you guys commenting. I see that a few people are here already. Let me know in chat how you're doing and where are you and what kind of weather you have. Are you still baking here in Houston? It's very hot, upper 90s, upper 30s in Celsius. So summer is still here. Good morning, Arlene. Arlene is in Maine. I bet it's beautiful there. You have fall colors yet, or is it still early? I see some more people joining up. Hopefully, you guys, you will be painting along with me today. I will be painting with gouache. So if you have any type of gouache, any brand, please paint along. I think this won't be super difficult painting, but it will be a lot of fun. We will talk about the style of French Impressionists. And if you're wondering what kind of paper you should have, it's very easy. You don't have to have watercolor paper. If you have some, maybe like an expensive Canson brand, you know, that XL brand, that will work. Cold press, hot press paper is really good for gouache. I'm using Bristol, so it's just thick white paper. I taped it down to my board and I also pinned it. Gouache doesn't buckle paper, but I gave this a wash of watercolor just to kill the white, so I thought I'll tape it to prevent buckling. So this is all I did this morning to prep for this session. Chilly this morning in Maine. I bet that felt nice. No. Okay, fall colors are coming. I'm hoping to do some traveling in October. Maybe I'll see some fall colors. I bet that would be very nice to, you know, go outside and do some plein air, some landscapes. All right, what else do I need to tell you about my materials before we start? I will be using Himi gouache. I have a 24 color set right here. I don't want to open it because if you paint it with gouache, you know, it dries very quickly. So I always keep mine very firmly, you know, the lid on very firmly, and I try to remember to close them as soon as I'm done painting, because if you leave them out, they will all dry out and crack. It's not the end of the world. You can reconstitute them. I'll talk about mediums to use with gouache during the session. I want everybody to join first so they can hear it as well. And with this type of gouache, you can use basically watercolor brushes. A little bit sturdier synthetic brushes work better. This Himi set actually came with a few brushes, so I will be using these probably. Don't have to be very large. I did buy some larger brushes. These are the ones I use for watercolor as well. So some flat brushes. This will be for just initial kind of color distribution. And I also have a couple of these. I think this actually said acrylic, but they're pretty soft. That gold Dacron, I think it's called, that material. So they work great for gouache. So you don't need natural hair or anything. And you can have a separate set for gouache, but you can also use the same ones you use for watercolor. This is water-soluble and re-wettable gouache, because we will talk separately about acrylic gouache. If you have that, you do need separate set of brushes. Don't use your watercolor brushes with acrylic gouache. And I have my older Deca brush as well. I started using it for gouache. It's very handy, so I have that as well. All right, we have 5 minutes. We'll let people join. I see that more and more people are here. Oh, somebody, Maggie is watching from Melbourne. It's 1 a.m. Yeah, Maggie, there will be a replay available, so you can watch it anytime. Thank you for joining us live. It was fun to see that somebody from the other side of the world is watching. All right, somebody's in Germany. That's cool. I bet you have fall coming there too. We're here in Houston still stuck in summer. Europe now has beautiful colors coming in. Great opportunities for some outdoor plein air. I plan on going to the coast in winter, so we have some nice sunny days at that time, you know, December, January. It's a little windy, but not too cold, and brilliant blue skies. I'm hoping to do some seascapes and paint some shrimp boats and sailboats, stuff like that. So alrighty guys, so if you plan on painting along with me, get set up, get your colors ready. I have some water, I have my brushes. I did not draw anything. I'm going to draw with the brush. So if you don't feel like doing that, you can print out the reference photo the same size as your paper and rub some charcoal on the back side and just transfer that outline. That will help you to kind of get started. But I'll show you how to draw with the brush with gouache. And gouache is so easy, you know, it's so much easier than watercolor. You can make corrections. You have white. You don't have to save white paper. You can put as many layers as you want. So I really enjoy working with that medium. And hopefully, if you haven't tried it, I hope you like it too. So just when I'm get a little bit too tired, you know, watercolor requires so much concentration. Sometimes you just want to do something easy, so I switched to gouache and paint with that. And the cleanup is easy because you just, same way as after watercolor, you just wash your brushes, dump everything in the sink, and you're done. It's not like oils that requires pretty involved cleanup after each painting session. Oh, okay. Okay, Sandy, yeah, Sandy is from Dallas, but she's in Germany. Okay, cool. So interesting to see where everybody is. I really appreciate you guys commenting. And I also want to mention last time at last Saturday session, I asked you to make some suggestions for future live videos on YouTube. If you have some ideas or maybe ideas for classes that you want to take, please, everything you wrote me in the chat box, I wrote down in my book, and I'm going to work on these themes, so they will be coming up, those videos. Thank you so much for everybody who commented. And if you have more suggestions, something that comes to mind during this session, make sure and write it. I read all the comments and I note everything down because I want to provide value to my viewers, and I want to show you the techniques and the styles that you really want to learn. Alrighty, we're almost ready. Just 1 more minute and we will get started, guys. To open my reference photo. All right, it's 10 o'clock on Saturday morning here in Houston, Texas. Welcome to Time Wrap Studio. In today's session, we will be painting with gouache and talking about gouache, but we will be painting in a very specific style. We will try to paint like French Impressionists. There are several ways that you can be painting with gouache, and it can be more kind of flat shapes, more illustration style. I like to paint with gouache like it's oils. I kind of imagine that it's oil paint, so opaque brush strokes and lots of color, no black. You know that French Impressionists, they banned black color from their palettes, and they put down a bunch of colorful brush strokes next to each other, and that way they created different shades of color. So think Renoir, think Claude Monet. So this will be our inspiration artists. Our reference today, our subject, will be I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments. Arlene has low volume audio. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's my microphone. It's falling down on me. Okay, hopefully that fixes the problem. Hi, Melissa. Melissa is in Colorado. Okay. So our reference photo today will be this beautiful white horse. I found this on Unsplash. You all have a link. And when I was looking at this photo, I was wondering, how can I paint it so it's more colorful, right? Because Impressionist paintings have a lot of colors. A lot of sunshine usually in them. So what I did, it's very easy. You can do it on your phone or on your iPad. You click edit on the photo, and on the bottom there will be all different settings that you can adjust, and one of the settings will be saturation, and you crank it all the way up, and you starting to see all the colors that are in that photo a lot better. And I printed it out so I can keep it on the screen. So this is the same photo with saturation cranked up almost all the way, and you see how all the yellows and all those purple and pink and orange shadows on the horse are starting to appear. I'm sorry, I pricked my finger. All these colors are starting to come out, and we can take advantage of that and capture them all on our paper. So this is a way to edit photos, especially if you're painting like white animals like this horse, or I painted some white dogs this way. There are videos on my channel that use those modified photos. So to see more colors, just crank up the saturation, and it will be much easier for you to paint. You can use the original, of course, but you know, this is just easier. I'll put it here so you can see it on the screen. Like I said, if you're painting with me, I have Bristol, and I prepped it with a wash of watercolor. I don't want that white page staring in my face, and also it kind of throws off your tonal perception. You don't see the darks and lights as well when you start on white paper. So I just painted it with a blue watercolor real quick. If you plan on painting, do this now so this will dry. I will keep talking about other stuff for just a minute to give you time to prep your paper. If you don't have gouache, many colors of gouache, you only have, let's say, white, you can paint with watercolor as well. Instead of this, you would want to paint this background. Just throw on some yellows, some blues, some greens. Don't worry about the horse. You can paint it on top of your background. So start with a colorful wash. I tried that technique. I'll show you. So see, I kind of painted a colorful background, and then I painted the horse with white gouache tinted with watercolors on top of it. So if you don't have gouache, you still can try this technique. You just need white, opaque white, and when we paint with watercolor, most of us have opaque white already. So these colors were watercolor mixed with white gouache, and this is just pure watercolor just to start to paint the background, because you want that background be a little bit darker. If you're mixing with white gouache, you won't get dark colors. So use pure watercolor to paint darks. All right, so this is what I wanted to tell you to start. I also wanted us to all to understand what is gouache and what we're painting with. So mine is Himi. I have a 24 color set here. I will open it. I love this set because all the colors are ready to go, right? They're in those little containers. So they come in those little cups. I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I run out of, I'm kind of low on some colors. I think you can buy them separately. I had to add some white already because I ran out, but they're ready to go. The only problem, so this is water soluble, and also when I paint with it, I can re-wet these colors with water. The only problem with these colors is that if you leave the palette open or when you work with it over time, it dries out a little bit. And the solution to that is to use watercolor medium. I used Oxgal liquid, which improves the flow of watercolor. So it is a type of watercolor medium. And I use a little eyedropper, and I add a little bit of that medium to my colors, and I mix them with that wooden skewers. So when you mix them up, they become fresh and, you know, really creamy again. So if they dry out, you can reconstitute them. In general, there are 3 binders that I use to produce gouache. So designer and artist gouache, which are traditional, right? First, gouache was used by illustrators and designers. So it's basically gum arabic, the same binder that's used in watercolor with some pigment. Pigment is ground larger, and that's why the color is opaque. I have, this is M. Graham artist gouache, so they come in tubes. They're very beautiful colors, creamy, but you have to squeeze them out on a disposable palette or something like that, and you only squeeze as much as you're going to use, because once they dry, you can reconstitute them with water, but they won't be creamy anymore, right? So designer and artist gouache use gum arabic in them, and after you paint with them, if you need to make corrections, you can take a wet brush and you can move them around. They don't completely dry, and some people find it an advantage and some people find it a disadvantage, but I really like this type of gouache, and that's what I mostly work with. Another type of gouache uses dextrin, which is basically potato starch. If the color, like less expensive brands like Reeves, it's a really nice brand, good colors. It just says gouache, so most likely it's potato starch that's used as a binder in here, or dextrin. And the third type of gouache that appeared relatively recently, I think, uses acrylic binder. Most popular brand, I think, is Holbein Acryla. You can see it says Acryla here, and it says Artists Acrylic Polymer. So this is basically matte acrylic paint, and it will behave the same way as acrylic paint. You can wash it off with water while it's still wet. So the cleanup will be with water, but once it dries, you can't move it anymore because it becomes that acrylic film. And another brand, I tried this as well, Liquitex. They're beautiful, very pigmented colors, but you know, the working with them is a little bit different. Definitely don't use your watercolor brushes with them. There might be some left, some paint left, make your brush really stiff, and you know, clean up your brushes right after painting. For today's sessions, this will be fine if you want to paint with this, or even if you just have regular acrylic paint, your painting will have that acrylic shine, which is no big deal. If you want it to look more like oils or more like gouache, you can just, after it dry, give it a coat of matte medium, and it will, you know, kill that shine. So everything is usable, and if you know your materials, you'll be fine and you can create beautiful paintings. All right, I think that's all I wanted to tell you guys. Hi Peggy. Let me see if we have any questions. Not so far. Are we on the same page, guys? Let's see. Somebody is asking, my color composition in college, we used watercolor paint opaquely. Is it good for gouache paint? Right. You can use, if you use watercolor paint straight out of the tube, like for this horse, those darker details, I just painted with fresh watercolors, so you can use it straight out of the tube. I would only use it for darkest darks, not to waste the paint, and the rest of it is mixed with white gouache. And this was just regular watercolor diluted, and I applied a wash and let it dry before I started painting the horse. All right, let's start painting. I am going to draw the horse first. Obviously need to do an outline, figure out what we're doing. Let's see what color we want to use. I see that the horse has kind of orangey glow around it. Maybe that's what we will start with. Maybe with this really warm yellow. So I don't have a pencil drawing. I'm going to try to draw the horse with a brush, and if I make some mistakes, after I'm done drawing, I will stop and evaluate. I can see already the ears are probably too small. I will evaluate the result, and it's very easy to make corrections with gouache, not like with watercolor. With watercolor we can make corrections too, but not as easily. So if you guys painting with me, let's start working on our drawing. Important not to rush through that stage, but make an accurate drawing, because this is the basis, the start of our painting. And I'll mention, guys, while I'm doing this, that I have several classes on my website, kseniaanis.com. If you go to the store page, I have several classes on painting with gouache, including painting in the style of Impressionists. I have a Van Gogh class. I have a class on painting flowers with watercolor with opaque white gouache. So this is one of my favorite mediums, and if you're interested in it but you need a little more information, hopefully you'll check out those classes. And of course I still have this sale on Painterly pet portraits, on watercolor pet portraits, going on until the end of the month. So don't forget to take a look at that and maybe take advantage of, it's $100 off right now, so it's a really good price. 3-hour on-demand class. A lot of materials, and it never expires, so you can take it at your own pace. I think it needs to be a little bit larger on this side. Let's check this angle of the head. You see the paint is pretty viscous. I am diluting it with water a little bit, but I don't want it runny, so I don't want to overdo the water content, so I'm using a damp brush but not a wet brush. Okay, and so this will be this. Here's this belly, maybe even more here on the back. Okay, so this is my horse. I sketched him out, and we can make him more precise when we start working. And I will start painting with kind of medium tones, so not with darks, not with lights, but I just want to distribute colors. This is kind of ugly stage because it kind of looks like a mess. We're just distributing colors, but it's important stage because this is the foundation of our painting. The classes are wonderful in detail. Thank you so much. Yes, I'll tell you the truth, guys. I put a lot of effort in those classes, and I try to provide as much value as I can for my students. I have a community forum where I answer questions, or you can post your artwork. So it's not like I give you a class and then you're on your own, right? So if you in each class have a preview video where I talk about what we're going to learn and what demonstrations are in this class, so you can really figure out what the class is about before you commit to buying it. All right, I'm going to start distributing my colors. I feel like I want to start with the background, so let's throw in some, let's just go through all of my greens and my blues and paint the background. If you don't have this many colors, guys, you know, you can mix anything you want from primary and secondary colors, right? So just get your palette ready and start mixing. But I didn't want that video to be super long and take forever and ever, so I decided to use the Himi set so I don't have to do so much mixing. And you see the advantage of having a tone underneath. The background already starts looking better. If this was white, it will keep showing through gouache, and it will just take me so much more time to get it to where it needs to be. So that's why I wanted to have it toned already before I started painting. So painting the background, staying away from my horse, I can overlap a little bit, but why would I waste paint, right? So I'm trying to, just like I said, distribute some colors and get a head start on my painting. Using a fairly large brush, this is, 1 inch. So in working on mid-tones. And you see that I'm not painting flat shapes, I'm not covering certain areas with one color. I am applying brush strokes that overlap each other. So this is what I saw in French Impressionist paintings. I will show you some copies that I did beforehand. I didn't just, you know, start painting like that. I studied Impressionist paintings for a while, did some copies. So that's what I saw in the paintings, and that's what I'm trying to replicate in my own way, of course. So if you have time and inclination to learn more about Impressionist style, I definitely recommend starting with some copies. You know, those paintings are in public domain. They're available online, good quality. So just open one up, the one you like, and try to paint a replica, and you will learn a lot, I promise you. And it seemed to me very intimidating. I was thinking, you know, French Impressionists, but actually the style is very close to the way we paint now, so they're not hard to replicate. They're a lot of fun to paint with, let's say. They're not with us anymore, but we can kind of touch them a little bit when we copy their artwork. Okay, so this kind of transitions more into oranges and yellows. I don't know, maybe I'll add a little more. I want the horse to really stand out, so maybe I'll make the background slightly darker than it's in the reference. We'll see. We can always lighten things with gouache, so it's no big deal. And maybe go back to my greens, and maybe go back to a lighter green. So we'll see what happens after this. Are you guys all doing good? Who is painting? Any questions? Put them in the chat. I'm keeping one eye on the chat. The paint I'm using is called Mia Himi gouache. It's jelly cup gouache. And Himi is spelled very easy, H-I-M-I. So you can find it. Amazon has it. Art supply stores have it. So I don't think it's super expensive. So for a beginner, I think this is actually a really good option, so I recommend it. Alrighty, let's work on our horse. So the horse is light. I'm trying to figure out what is the mid-tone. I would say those kind of orange and purple colors are the mid-tone, so let's distribute them. This might be a bit too dark, but we can always lighten. And you will see in a minute when I start mixing in lighter colors how that works, that lower layers I'm mixing with top layers. With acrylic gouache, it's not going to be like that, because once you lay it dry, you can't move it. But with dextrin-based gouache and with gamma arabic, right, based gouache, it's very easy to blend colors because they're still movable even after they're dry. Okay, this horse is really going to go through an ugly stage because I'm applying all these colors, but we will fix it all in just a minute. There's a lot lighter tone here. So just trying to get a head start and distribute my colors. Some orange, I can clearly see some orange here. And if you guys looking at the initial reference, you see that those colors are not there. We can invent them, and that will be a good exercise to not do this, but just paint from a very subdued photo and try to just come up with some colors. But for now we will use the reference, so it's a little bit easier on us. My gouache is really goopy. Maybe I'll give it a spritz of water too. I tried to dilute it some more this morning, but it's still pretty viscous. Okay, and I want to do some purples as well. That horse is looking really ugly, but we're getting there. Okay, let's do some purple. And you see it mixes together and I get that slightly neutral purple. That's really beautiful. So that's what it's all about, mixing those colors and finding all those beautiful shades in them. And maybe even blue. I'll put some blue on this side. The drawing very quickly starts to disappear, and that's why I said, you know, I don't draw with pencil, because it will be very hard to keep that pencil drawing anyway. So it's much better to just analyze the reference and draw with the brush. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Maybe go over here a little bit too. Okay, so this is my preliminary color application, my distribution of colors. How we doing on time, guys? Yeah, we're good, I think. Okay, and what we need to do now, I'm going to move to lights. I'm going to take a smaller brush, and let's use a round brush so we get those kind of feathery brush strokes that Renoir is famous for. And I'm going to paint lighter areas on the horse. Or maybe I'll paint light and darks at the same time. Now that I'm thinking about it, let me grab another brush. We can work with two brushes at the same time. So I'm going to do lights with the round brush. And if I need to add some darks, if I feel like that will help me to move the painting along, then I will use another brush so I don't have to wash my brush so much. And verifying the drawing at the same time. So that highlight goes down here, and there is a highlight back here. Okay. when working with white, it's a good idea to maybe put it separately somewhere or try to keep it clean. You know, try not to poke your dirty brush in the white, because once you get it all messed up, it will be hard to clean it out. If you're using a disposable palette, I usually do 2 piles of white, one for cooler colors and one for warmer colors, so they don't contaminate each other so much. But it's kind of essential to keep the white clean, but doesn't always happen. Okay, and then all this, you see how easy it is for me to lighten something. I'm going to do the eye real quick so it doesn't confuse me. So for dark colors, like I said, Impressionists didn't use black, so I'm going to use very dark blue. This is indigo, and they used very dark blue colors and they neutralized it further with reds. So they did use dark tones. It doesn't mean they only painted with light colors, they just didn't use pure black pigment. So I'm going to use indigo to add the darkest darks. And let me mark this eye here as well, so it's easier for me to check the painting, and you can see also what I'm doing here. It's all one big mess right now. So the eye will be here, and we need to verify the outline of the horse's face. I know that what you call it, what it's wearing on the face is kind of throwing me off a little bit. The harness, right? That's what it's called. So I'm checking the drawing at the same time as I'm working. See a lot of orange down here. This all needs to be lighter. And the mouth is down here. And the lower lip is down here. It's very orange. There is a darker area. See how convenient it is to have a couple brushes instead of just one? I don't have to constantly jump over and wash it. Kind of see a little bit of the other nostril, and I can go in and add a little bit here to make it look right. Okay, let's see. This is the okay, and if there is, you see how I painted a little too much? Again, very easy. I just pick up color. Let's do this beautiful blue, let's say. I don't want to do, it's orange there, but I don't want to do orange. I already have too much orange. So I can go in and verify my painting with just a few brush strokes. All right, I'll paint the harness in a minute. Let's see what else we need to do. We need to lighten this side of the neck, obviously. I tend to accumulate brushes in the other hand. And you see, guys, I'm not covering the whole everything smoothly, right? I want those brush strokes to be visible, because that was how Impressionist painting, you can really see the brush strokes in their paintings. So this will be the cheek. I think this is too much. There's the neck. Going this way. So I'm using pure white, but because I already have my midtones painted, the white kind of mixes with underlying layers, and I'm getting interesting color variations. So it's not just, you know, blobs of white everywhere. I'm actually getting interesting painting effect, getting different colors. And horse is very muscular, so we can give a little more definition. and I see really bright orange highlights right here. So I'm going to paint them too. Very tempted to glance at the chat, but let's concentrate on painting for now. Just finish a passage and then I'll answer your questions if there are any. There is a very pronounced orange highlight down here, up here. So you see the horse is kind of starting to come towards us, right? As soon as we started adding whites, we started seeing the horse. It started to appear. This might be too intense, but we'll blend it in. So that shadow on the side of the horse's face, I'm trying not to paint the harness because I don't want to lose that form. I'm going to use this more intense purple to paint that shadow. And there is a lot of purple on the face. And there is some blue on the face as well. That black, when you turn up the saturation, that black on the horse's face became blue. So it's got some spots right here. Okay. So this is good. Some blue on the eyelid as well. And some darker blue in the eye. Alrighty, so we're making progress. Let's see. I got into dark, so I got a little bit confused with all my brushes, but it's okay. I'm going to define this form a little bit better, and I'm going to define this a little bit better. There's some darker color back here. And this all blends kind of with the background. We can't really see what's going on there. Okay. Let's paint that harness. So I think it's time. Let me look. This area is lighter. Yeah, I'll finish this area and then we will paint the harness. Carmen is asking, do you add water to your gouache? Yes, I do. The more water you add, the more it will become kind of like opaque watercolor. It will start running. So if you want to work with gouache like it's oils, if you're, copying Impressionist paintings or just working like that, you want damp brush but less water. If you paint in a background or you're using dry gouache and you're trying to reconstitute it, of course there will be more water, but it will be more runny. But there is a product that I tested recently. It's a Carandash brand and it's cakes of gouache. And I was like, dry gouache, it's going to be all runny, but I tried it and the colors were very intense. I have a comparison video on my channel. I'm painting an ice cream cone. So check this out if you're interested in different types of gouache. The results were really surprising to me. So, gouache is very versatile and you have to kind of specifically try every brand and every type to figure out which one you like and, which ones you don't. So I'm hoping these videos are helpful and kind of will help you to make a decision. This is very the longer I have it, the goopier it's getting. So I do need to add some water to make it work, even if I'm trying to paint with like separate brush strokes. But always important, of course, not to, water control is what water media is all about. So, not too much, not too little. It all comes with, after you try different things and you practice and you learn your medium. I had a student tell me, I don't like gouache, it's so different from watercolor. Well, like any medium, you have to kind of get used to it and get adjusted. So it's not, sometimes it's not easy, but it's a process. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not instantaneous. Okay, so this is getting closer to completion. Let me paint the harness. You see the painting goes fairly quickly. Yeah, when I'm starting to get this kind of dry brush effect, it means I need to dip my brush in water and smooth it out, so there's just not enough water. Alrighty, how we looking, guys? How are the painters doing? And I do want that textured look, but you know, like I said, sometimes you just need to dip your brush in water and smooth it out a little bit, but keeping in mind that your layers will mix, most likely. But if you go a little bit lighter, you'll be fine. I think that's the main objection a lot of people have to gouache. They say it all lifts. Yeah, just go gentle on it and it will be fine. Okay. And see, if you get an area like this where it's kind of muddy color, because I painted orange and then I neutralized it with purple, I can just pick up some more color and give it a little, you know, push it out, push it towards a certain color. All right, I'm going to paint the harness. I think I'll use a flat brush for harness because it's just easier to control. And I'm going to paint the shadow right here. Let's see where it needs to be. And I see that I need to correct the nostrils a little bit. It's always, if you need to paint a curved line, it's always easier to paint like section, and it will look better too. So instead of, you know, doing this, I can go in sections and that will give me more precision. So there is something happening here. If somebody knows about horses, you can correct me. I love horses, but I don't know very much about the harness and things like that, but probably for horse lovers it makes more sense, the structure of it, but I'm just copying what I see in the reference photo. Okay, and the rest of it is a little lighter, so let's use orange and we will neutralize it with our blue. This is too light. I didn't set out my palette because I didn't think I will be mixing colors that much, but it's good. We can mix on paper. It's even better not to get too involved with mixing colors, but to try and paint with pure colors. All right, and I'm just going to fix a couple of details on the horse's face and the painting will be done. And I have some more paintings to show you guys as examples. As usual, I try to prepare a few more for each session. The eyes are actually not bad, I think. I think we're good on the eyes. I need to fix the nostrils, or work on the nostrils a little more, I should say. Give them a little more definition. There is a dark area here, and I need to lighten them a little bit. I'm smearing paint everywhere on my fingers. Get a clean rag. Horse has eyelashes, and there is a little highlight in the eye. This side as well. Yeah, when you wash the brush and you start painting with it again, you can have a little bit too much water, so it's always good to have paper towel or a piece of cloth, and just in case you need to catch some drips from the brush. Okay, and there is a lighter area here. This is all good. Let's check the lip. He's kind of pouting slightly. There is an orange highlight in the eye as well. And I forgot to paint the dark areas in his ears. You guys should have reminded me. Okay, so let's grab, it's as dark as the eyes, so I'm going to grab my indigo and paint inside the ears. Okay, this is all good. We can also work on the background a little more, throw in some more color. I do have a few minutes, so I'm going to do that. I don't want to keep you guys here all morning, so I'm trying to make this within a reasonable amount of time. Okay, let's see. Yeah, first of all, I need to lighten the nose even more. There is a very bright highlight here. Maybe more color. Yeah, that makes the kind of sunshine play on the horse a little more. And let's lighten the background just in a few places. I'll get a little bit, do I have a bigger brush? Yeah, I do. Here's a medium-sized brush, and maybe use our lemon yellow just to kind of add some sunlight in the back. And Carmen reminded me, guys, I also publish my classes on Skillshare. So if you have Skillshare membership, you can watch them there as well. Just search for my name, Ksenia, and you will see what I have there. Not every single one, but I have a lot there. Okay. What do you think? Maybe warmer yellow as well. Kind of connect the horse to the, visually to the sides of the paper. Kind of brighten the background a little bit. And you see, I'm not smoothing out my brush strokes because I want them to be very textured and kind of present there in my painting. All right, this is our horsey. What do you guys think? Let me know in comments. And I'm going to look at your questions in just a second. Hopefully people who are painting are okay, keeping up, but you know, you can always watch the replay if you need a little more time. Okay. So this is my horse in the style of Impressionist, and I think what makes it the Impressionist style is that I used a lot of colors. I used very textured brush strokes, and I tried to apply them kind of side by side without pre-mixing colors on the palette. That was one of the things French Impressionists did. I didn't use any black, so I used blues, deep indigo for my darks. I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to play with this some more. I want to throw some indigo down here so my horse is a little more grounded. Like when you start painting, you start analyzing it and you realize that you want to do something else. So no blue, no black. I used deep blue instead of black. And you know what else we can do now that I'm looking at it? We can add some highlights on the harness, because I can really see it kind of sparkling in the sun. This will make it even more realistic. Okay, I think now I'm done. Yeah, when you drip water like that, it's not good. You need to carefully lift it, and if there is a spot, you might want to repaint that. All right, this was my horse painting. I'll show you again another version that I did. I'm going to close my gouache with the lid so I don't forget. Here is another version that I did with watercolors and only white gouache. So I'm showing it side by side so you can compare the results. This is of course a lot softer because, you know, that watercolor background really makes a difference. This is a little more kind of structured, but up to you which technique you want to use, which one you prefer. And I wanted to show you guys also, while we have a few minutes, how I got to paint in this style, right? I talked about studying French Impressionists, and I don't paint with oils, so I used gouache to make copies of their paintings. So this was one. This tutorial is also on my channel. I started, this is Renoir's Girl Reading. So I tried to paint it with gouache, and that's when I discovered that, you know, Impressionist style is really close to my heart, and kind of I understand how they painted. It's not super hard, and this is a great exercise to learn the technique and to kind of break out of the mold a little bit, maybe I should say, because I would paint with gouache and I will get kind of midway and I was like, I don't know what else to do. But Impressionists taught me how to actually finish a painting and how to find all the color range and the tonal range in the painting. So this was my first one. Then this is a lovely painting, I'm sure you all know it, the skiff, where Renoir did, you know, a lot to study water. So that was an interesting experiment, and it helped me to learn, you know, like I was talking, we live fairly close to the coast, so I want to do some seascapes, and Renoir taught me how to actually paint water. So after I did this copy, I started to understand it a little better. And this was an interesting experiment. This is Monet's Iris Path, Claude Monet's, and it was also, you know, I realized they almost painted, this is almost an abstract painting. They were so ahead of their time that, you know, they already got there. They got to abstract painting that officially happened many decades later. And that was an interesting painting to copy as well. And then I started kind of trying to apply what I learned to my own paintings. So this was painted with gouache in the style of Impressionists. Also, just from a photo, I found a photo of some purple flowers in a basket, and I tried to kind of channel my inner Renoir, my inner French Impressionist. I also tried doing water lilies, you know, after whom, right? And this tutorial is also on my YouTube channel, and this is also on YouTube, a bouquet of flowers that I tried to paint with, you know, light brush strokes, lots of colors, no black, and I think it turned out pretty good. So let me know what you think. So these are the examples. I told you guys about my classes. I have some Impressionist classes, and also I have, if you love animals and you want to learn more about painting animal portraits and you want to learn more about color mixing, make sure and check out that Painterly Pet's pet portraits class that's on sale right now. It's $100 off, because, you know, once you start working with color, you can take it into other mediums. And I started working with watercolor a lot more colorful as well after I studied the Impressionists. You saw some of these paintings. You know, this is kind of similar principle, but applied to watercolor. Of course, application technique will be a little bit different, but the general approach to color and showing form, I took it from the Impressionists. So if you want to learn more about that, this demo is the class demo, and you can learn how to do this in that class, Painterly Pet Portraits. All right, let me check your comments. Peggy says it looks better than the reference photo. Yeah, reference is just for inspiration. We're not copying it. We're just, you know, working very colorful approach and doing our own thing. Okay, lots of thank yous, beautiful examples. Marianne says, I've never heard about gouache before. Yes, I know it's not a super popular medium, but I think it's just so easy to use. I think it's because it's used by illustrators and designers. Artists don't they didn't get involved with it too much, but now gouache is such great quality. Like M. Graham, I know it's not a cheap paint, but the quality is just outstanding. The colors are really saturated, and it's light fast, and it's very, so your paintings will be very durable. You do have to frame them under glass, but they're not going to fade or anything. So, and Holbein makes really high quality gouache as well, and they make acrylic and gum arabic artist gouache and designer gouache. So I think this medium is really worth checking out if you want to, you know, expand your horizons a little bit. It's a different approach because you saw I wasn't saving white. I was painting from midtones into lights and darks. With watercolor, we kind of build layers stage by stage. So it's different from watercolor, but I think it kind of frees you and it takes your mind off watercolor, and it really improves your painting. All right, let me make sure that I answered all the comments. Arlene says she will try her gouache. Good. And if you guys post on social media, tag Tammy Rub Studio. It's right here. This is my social media, and this is my website. Make sure you tag me, and I'll see you painting, and you know, we can share some tips and experiences. You can tell me what you discovered. You know, I would love to see your paintings online. Yeah, and painting with gouache, Linda says, seems to come together so quickly. I think painting with gouache is a lot faster than watercolor. With watercolor, you have to, first of all, wait for all those layers to dry, and then you gradually build it. But with gouache, you just kind of work, at least I work a la prima, so, you know, it really falls together very quickly. All right, yeah, and the main question, Carol is asking, have you ever tried casein? Yes, I have. I love casein. I bought, actually just bought a few more additional tubes. There's only one brand that makes it, and Richardson, I believe, right, sells it. I bought it online, and I tried it, and I can tell you guys it's very similar to work with, to gouache, but the texture is just beautiful. It's not as goopy. It's a lot more, you know, it flows a lot easier than gouache, and you get that beautiful kind of velvety texture, so the paintings look beautiful. I'll probably do a demo about casein after I paint with it a little more. It also works great with watercolor. You can do a watercolor wash and then paint the details with casein because it's a lot easier to control than watercolor. But I'll probably do a separate demo on casein. I'm still kind of studying it, but it's a beautiful material if you want to try it. And you can actually get started, just get a primary set and some white, and you'll be good to go. So you don't have to buy many colors. Yes, and casein takes several days to set. So at first it's movable, but then it kind of cures over time. So it's really interesting material. Yeah, Carol says she loves it more than gouache. Yeah, gouache is a little, yeah, it's more viscous than casein. Casein flows a little better, especially if you add the emulsion to it. Alrighty, I think these are all the questions. If I didn't see your question for some reason, but I think I went through all of them, or you think about something else, make sure you post a comment under the video. Thank you guys all so much. Next Saturday, we will have another free hand drawing class. So we will be doing some, I don't know where they are, I didn't prepare them, but we will have some fun in the studio again. We will be drawing with our brushes, freehand. We'll be talking about birds. So hopefully next Saturday you can join me here in the studio. It's at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. US Central Time. We'll be having fun in Tammy Rub Studio again. So thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I'll see you next week.